everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like Therian and furry content, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button on this video. Today's video asks the question of should you be open about being a Therian? Being a Therian is a deeply personal experience, especially considering the fact that it often ties with the very fiber of who you are as a person. But sometimes other people can be really mean about that. Therians get bullied, and that is a very common thing in this community, to the point where almost every Therian that I've seen posting online has some sort of experiences with harassment or bullying, or just people being really mean or insensitive just for no reason. And because kids can be awfully cruel to people who are different, should you be open at school about being a Therian? And I'll get into being open with family or other things in a moment, but I'm going to focus on school because that's primarily where I think the problem lies. Now, the problem that I'm referring to is more so whether you should express yourself and be true to who you are, or conform to society to avoid any pain or suffering. And that is a tough decision, especially for kids, especially for people who are transitioning from maybe elementary school to middle school or middle school to high school. It can be a very awful and scary thing. So is it better to be open about being a Therian and hopefully find people that you connect with who are similar? Or is that not worth the risk and you better conform to society so that you don't stick out and so that you can have more friends? And both options, honestly, could work in different situations. Now, personally, I am a big believer in being true to who you are. When I was in school growing up, for the brief time that I was always true to who I was. I didn't care what other people thought of me, and I was lucky in that regard that I didn't care. Because it's easy to care now. It's really hard when people don't like something about you, or think you're strange, or when you're kind of outcasted by people your age, and that is a rough thing to do. So it really depends. If you're ready to understand the fact that people will not like you for being a Therian, and that there will be people who probably make fun of you, now there might not be. School doesn't have to be a terrible place where everyone hates you and bullies you all the time. That's not always the case. But it's better to prepare for the worst case scenario than to be underprepared for some horrible, horrible stuff. But it's important to know that if you are open about being a Therian at school, and if you bring gear to school, that there could be that risk of people either taking your gear or destroying it, or just being incredibly rude to you for being a Therian. Now, I like to think that you should not care if these people are mean to you for being a Therian, because they're not people you'd want to be around with anyway. But unfortunately, in school, you have to be kind of cordial with everybody, which is to say, you don't want to have to work on a project with someone who you had a fight with. So it's better to kind of stay out of things like that. At least that's what I'd say. But it also is a heck of a task to really be true to who you are and be open about it, because there is that open judgment that people will give you, and there's people that you will not be able to be friends with because they just will be off put by you. And to be honest, as a 21-year-old adult who's kind of been done with all of these things for a very long time, there will be people who also really like the fact that you're not conforming to the general standards of society, and that you're wearing your tail to school or just being a cool person. There will always be people that are also kind of weird or strange, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't use it in a negative context. It's just the people that don't really fit in with the popular crowd, or the more normal people in your school, because there's always going to be the weird kids, so to say. There will always be people to be friends with. And honestly, some of the more normal kids, normal in quotes again, by the way, some of them actually will probably be chill with it once they understand and get past the stigma, and if you get to know them. But it also just depends on how able you are to advocate for your needs and your rights in your community. Because in order to be open about who you are and not get as much of the negative impact, is you have to just be confident. And even if you're not actually confident, having this fake kind of confidence about you can actually help you out. Because if you're someone who struggles with anxiety or social situations, or just gets kind of upset when you come into confrontation or really kind of breaks down when it comes to the fight, I'd recommend not being open about being a Therian, or at least only telling those you're very close to. And this is because in order to really take on that kind of like strong, like independent, I am who I am cringe is dead kind of vibe, you really have to have that kind of confidence, because otherwise you'll just fall apart and they'll spot that weakness and it'll be harder. Because you don't have to be open about being a Therian to be valid in being a Therian. And even if you want to wear gear to school and you want to make Therian friends, sometimes until you are ready to be able to just handle that cringe and take on the people that will be against you, it's not worth it. It's better to just kind of take it easy and make the friends you have and just take it a bit slower and put yourself less in the spotlight, so to say. Because if you are wearing gear to school, people will talk about it. People will say things behind your back and even probably to your face. And some of those things might even be compliments. There might be people that are like, hey, I love your tail, that's pretty cool, and that could open the door to a new friendship, maybe, you know? But it's best to know that there is that chance of bullying and harassment, and it's not right. No, it's not fair. It's horrible that these people are doing these things to Therians, and I'm not trying to excuse their behavior because it's absolutely disgusting. And anyone who bullies someone just for being a Therian is just completely stupid, honestly. But listen, not everyone is going to hate you for being a Therian, and not everyone is going to bully you for it, because you probably will make some friends. Because if you are confident enough to be true of who you are in your Therian identity, then the people that are less confident might be drawn to you. It's really complicated when it's coming to a decision like, do I be open about how I am on the inside and this part that's kind of vital to who I am, or do I hide it? It's a really tough decision. And then it's even more complicated when it comes to family. See, family is a really, really tough one. Sorry, there's a leaf on the floor. Because everyone's family is completely different. There's no one true way to know if you should tell your family that you're a Therian, but there are a bunch of ways that you should know not to, or at least know when not to. Because if your family would cause you any harm, which is to say any physical harm or emotional harm, then it's probably best not to come out as a Therian to them, or at least not to tell them that this is what you're experiencing. Because the thing is, you do not have to tell anybody you're a Therian to be valid in being a Therian, and your family doesn't have to know you're a Therian. It's important to remember that sometimes things are more important than family ties, and if your family is going to be mean to you for something that's so vital to who you are, or they're going to be mean to you for something that they don't care enough to understand, then it's not worth telling them. Because it's not worth living in this horrible space where people don't accept you and you're aware of that and everything's rough. Especially opening the door for maybe your siblings or someone to make fun of you for it, it's just not worth it. But if you know your family is fairly accepting and they probably wouldn't worry about it, or they'd actually support you, or even if you don't know that for sure, but your family is kind of on the nicer end, they're less reactive to negative information, so to say, then they'd probably be a bad idea to tell them. But remember, you don't have to tell anybody you're a Therian to be valid in it. Honestly, because Therianthropy is an internal identity, the only one who really has to know you're a Therian is you. And to be honest, that's okay. Because not everyone has to know something so personal about you. And on the topic of school again, this is going to be for the older Therians, at least around my age. If you're going to college, if you happen to be going to college, and you are a Therian and you want to be more open about it, college is a completely different space from high school, and it functions completely differently, and you will probably be completely fine being open as a Therian, and will probably, if you are open enough, find other cool Therian friends. So if you're in college, you're pretty much good. There will be people open for being a Therian, and there's actual real world negative consequences for people that actually try to bully you or harass you or do horrible things to you. Most of the time. If someone does do something rough to you on campus, well, good news, there are real world consequences for it. So that's why people tend not to be as really bully heavy in college. And if they are, there's things you can usually do about it. But personally, I'd recommend, my recommendation is, if you have the confidence and the ability to just be like, yeah, I'm confident who I am, cringe is dead, listen, I'm a Therian, then by all means, tell people, whether you're in college or not. If you have the confidence in you and you're like, you know what? I don't actually mind if people don't like me for this, because this is who I am, and I don't need them anyway, then listen, you're one step forward. You're on the right track. Because the thing is, high school and middle school end. They end, and then nothing is ever experienced like that ever again, really, because college is pretty different and not everyone goes to college. So listen, if you are in the spot where you're being bullied for being a Therian, or people don't like you because you're a Therian, it'll be over pretty soon, actually. You'll be good, because high school and middle school end. But whether or not you're open about being a Therian with your friends, your family, your school, anyone, you are completely valid in being a Therian. No amount of people has to know about it or has to be aware of it in order for you to be valid in your Therianthropy. And also, sometimes you don't actually need a support group of other Therians, because sometimes you're good just being yourself. And don't get me wrong, it's also really fun to have Therian friends, but you don't actually have to be open about being a Therian in order to be valid in being a Therian. But honestly, in my personal opinion, I think it's way better to be open about being a Therian and then just have the people that don't like Therian just see their way out of your life so you don't have to deal with them. Or if they try to break an appearance, be like, haha, you're a Therian. Just be like, yep, you got me, I guess. Wow. I don't know, but listen. My heart goes out to any of you who are struggling with being bullied for being a Therian right now. And listen, just know that I support you and you are valid in your Therianthropy. And that regardless of what other people are saying to you right now about it, don't listen to them. But remember, being open about being a Therian is a choice, and it is a very complicated choice for some people. So make sure to put some thought into it before you decide whether to tell people you're a Therian, to not tell people, and whatever decision you make, you're valid in your Therianthropy. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you liked this video. Thank you so much.